something with a single, burning eye moved over Crawfordsville, Indiana. Slow, deliberate, like a deep-sea creature scanning the floor of an ocean that had no business existing above our heads. The town panicked. Experts stepped in. Their explanation? A flock of killdeer, disoriented birds confused by city lights. Tidy, reassuring. Except killdeer don't have one flaming eye. They don't hover. And they don't come back to the same sky 70 years later. 2 sightings. Same town. Same impossible shape. And each time a rational answer was offered, it aged worse than the fear itself. The cracks in the logic didn't close. They widened until the explanations felt colder than the thing they were supposed to explain. This starts on a September night in 1891. 2 in the morning. A man hauling blocks of ice through empty streets looked up. His name was Marshall McIntyre. His partner, Bill Gray. 2 men employed in what might be the most invisible job of the 1890s, because, in an era before mechanical refrigeration, ice didn't deliver itself. It traveled by horse and wagon, and it traveled at night. The only hours when Indiana heat couldn't turn a man's cargo into a puddle on the road. They'd stopped at William Martin's barn. Routine drop. The horses stood quiet, breath rising in pale threads. And then something shifted overhead. What the witnesses described was a pure white object, roughly 18 feet long and 8 feet wide, suspended between 300 and 400 feet in the air. Semi-translucent. No discernible head. No tail. It moved on multiple pairs of lateral fins, undulating in a rhythm that looked disturbingly organic. And it produced a sound, a labored, wheezing noise, like something gasping in pain. You're standing in an empty street in rural Indiana. No electric light. The only illumination is what the moon decides to share. And directly above you, something the size of a fishing vessel is hanging in the air. Rippling. Breathing. McIntyre and Gray did the only thing that made sense. They ran into Martin's barn and stayed there for nearly an hour, watching through the gaps between boards as this thing drifted, slow and patient, occasionally reversing its own direction mid-flight, a maneuver no balloon, no bird formation, no known machine of 1891 could perform. But here's the quiet cruelty of being a working man. You don't get to stay hidden. That ice was melting. Those deliveries had names and addresses attached. So, after almost an hour of watching something that fit no category their minds could offer, McIntyre and Gray climbed back onto their wagon and drove out, directly beneath it. The object hadn't left. Now, if this were just 2 exhausted laborers spinning a tale after a long shift, history would have let it go. 2 tired men, a dark sky, a trick of the eyes. Comfortable enough. But the following morning, a Methodist minister named G.W. Switzer came forward with his own account. And what he described made comfortable explanations very hard to maintain. The record simply states that hours before McIntyre and Gray ever loaded their ice wagon, Switzer walked into his backyard. Past midnight. Couldn't sleep. Dry mouth. The kind that nags you until you just give in and get up. So he went to the well. Now, this is a man who stood behind the pulpit at First Methodist Church every Sunday. A man whose entire standing in Crawfordsville depended on being measured. Deliberate. The sort of person who would sooner swallow a strange experience whole than risk a single whisper about his judgment. He drew water. And somewhere between the creak of the pulley and the bucket breaking the surface, something made him look up. What he saw, settling over his neighbor J.M. Lane's rooftop, was a massive, shapeless white form. No wings, no frame. The Crawfordsville Daily Journal would later record it as an enormous, undulating, cloth-like mass. Luminous, drifting downward with no visible means of support, just presence, lowering itself onto a house. And here's where the credibility lives. Forget the title. Watch what he did next. He went inside and shook his wife awake. Think about that for a second. A pastor, middle of the night, pulling his wife out of bed. A wife who had no earthly reason to be standing outside at that hour. He didn't pray on it. He didn't wait for morning to journal his thoughts. He needed another pair of eyes. Right then. Because whatever was descending over his neighbor's property had just cracked something inside his framework for how the world was supposed to work. And he needed someone beside him, not for the congregation, not for the newspaper, for himself, to confirm he hadn't lost his mind. Together, they walked to the front street, and they watched it rise. The September 7th edition of the Crawfordsville Daily Journal published their account with the full weight a minister's word carried in 1891 Indiana, right alongside the ice workers' testimony. Two separate encounters, hours apart, described independently, converging on the same impossible object. Two exhausted laborers could be waved off. A respected pastor and his wife, standing in their own street, describing the same shapeless thing from a different hour of the same night. That's a crack in the wall that doesn't seal back up. And that crack was about to split wide open. Because within hours, this thing stopped drifting quietly over backyard rooftops and empty roads. It moved to the center of town. And when it did, there was no looking away. For anyone. The Brooklyn Eagle picked it up first. Then papers in Indianapolis. Then Chicago. By the following evening, what had been whispered between neighbors was headline news across half the country. And Crawfordsville responded exactly the way you'd expect a small Indiana town to respond when the whole nation suddenly wants to know what's floating over your rooftops. They came outside, hundreds of them, shopkeepers, farmers, children pulled from bed, all packed into the commercial district, necks craned, eyes fixed on a sky that had betrayed every assumption they'd ever held about what belongs up there. Vincent Gaddis's research and the newspaper records from that night confirmed they stood there for nearly 2 hours. 2 hours, shoulder to shoulder, in the dark, waiting. And then it came back. Lower this time. Much lower. Low enough that what had been a distant, rippling silhouette now had texture, had sound, had heat. The witnesses described a sad, wheezing noise. And I need you to hear this clearly. It wasn't mechanical. It wasn't wind shear. It sounded like a massive animal struggling to breathe, the way a draft horse sounds when its lungs are failing. That wet, ragged pull of air through something that should not have been alive and yet unmistakably was. People reported feeling a wave of hot air press down against their skin as it passed overhead. Fetid, damp, like the exhale of something enormous. Close enough to feel on the backs of their necks, on their forearms, a physical thing, a warm, living thing directly above them. But the detail that broke people, the one that split this town clean in half, was the eye. The record simply states, while they couldn't make out any head on this thing, they did clearly see one gigantic flaming eyeball. The eye darted around as it flew overhead, like it was scouring the ground in search of something. Sit with that image for a moment. A single burning eye, sweeping back and forth across a crowd of hundreds in the dark. The motion of a predator scanning for prey, except the predator had no skull, no body you could name, and it was the size of a city block directly above you. Some people ran. Others stood locked in place, unable to reconcile what their own senses were screaming at them. And a third group, maybe the most telling group, got angry. Because by the next morning, the first expert opinions were already trickling in. Mass hysteria, atmospheric illusion, a flock of killdeer caught in strange light, and the people who had stood beneath that thing, who had felt the heat settle on their skin, who had heard that wet rattle deep in their own chest cavities. They didn't just disagree. They were furious. You don't tell someone the burn on their neck was imaginary. You don't tell 200 people they forgot how birds work. Crawfordsville didn't just see something it couldn't explain. It fractured over whether explanation was even the right response. And here's the thing about the human mind when it's cornered like that. When every comfortable answer has been peeled away one by one, it doesn't surrender. It gets creative. And what the experts reached for next, the official explanation they cobbled together to make this all go away, honestly, it might be stranger than the monster itself. Two men stepped forward, John Hornbeck and Abe Hernley, local rationalists who'd had enough of the hysteria gripping Crawfordsville. They did what reasonable people do. They went out, tracked the object to its edges, and came back with an answer. On September 8, 1891, the Crawfordsville Daily Journal ran their conclusion under a headline that must have felt like cool water on a fever. The spook explained. The culprit? Killdeer birds. A large flock of them, disoriented by something brand new to Crawfordsville. Electric streetlights. The town had just installed them, and Hornbeck and Hernley argued that these modern lamps threw the birds into total confusion. Their white bellies and backs, catching the electric glow, merged together into what looked like a pale, translucent sheet suspended in the night sky. Their shrill, panicked cries, anyone who's heard a killdeer knows that piercing sound, became the creature's agonized breathing. And the eye? The burning, searching red eye that hundreds of people swore rotated across the rooftops like a living searchlight? That was supposedly the bird's tail markings. Killdeer carry distinctive reddish-brown patches near their tails, and Hornbeck and Hernley claimed that when the flock clustered together under artificial light, those small patches fused into a single glowing crimson point. Every terrifying detail neatly reassigned to ornithology. A tidy package. Now sit with that for a moment. Sit in the quiet and actually try to build what they're describing. You need well over 100 small birds, panicked, disoriented, wheeling through darkness, to hold a rigid rectangular formation 18 feet long and 8 feet wide, at 300 to 400 feet above the ground. Not for a few chaotic seconds, for roughly 2 hours. While collectively projecting the illusion of a single, slow-rotating pupil that scanned the streets below with what witnesses described as deliberate, predatory intent. Flocking birds don't do that. They pulse, they scatter, they reform in organic, shifting clouds. What the witnesses described was geometric, fixed, deliberate. A flock of terrified killdeer at night would look like static on a screen, not a precision-cut rectangle with a unified, burning eye seated at its center. And I have to ask you, when you hear this theory, does it feel like a genuine explanation? Or does it feel like someone reaching past the thing on the table to grab something, anything, more comfortable to hold? Because the record simply states, the explanation was published, and for a while, the town accepted it. The way you accept an aspirin for a migraine. You know it hasn't fixed anything, but the throbbing dims just enough to function. Hornbeck and Hernley weren't frauds. They were doing what the human mind does when every familiar category has been exhausted. They reached for the nearest available framework. Birds, light, optics, and pressed it into service with both hands. The fact that the framework buckled under the weight of its own geometry, that was a problem for later. And later came, but not for a very long time. After that September, the skies over Crawfordsville went quiet. The monster, the eye, the labored breathing, all of it simply stopped. The newspaper clippings yellowed in their stacks. The town moved on. And for the next 66 years, Nothing disturbed that silence. At least, nothing anyone reported. For 70 years, nothing. The electric light arrived in Crawfordsville, first on Main Street, then block by block. And with every new filament that hummed to life, the thing in the sky retreated a little further into campfire talk. The bird explanation, riddled with holes as it was, gave the town exactly what it needed: permission to stop looking up. The red eye closed. The gasping stopped. The rectangle folded itself into newspaper clippings, yellowing in courthouse drawers. Almost everyone moved on. Almost. Charles Fort didn't. Fort was, by obsession and temperament, the kind of researcher who collected what the world threw away: anomalies, fringe reports, the data points that didn't fit the frame. He gathered the Crawfordsville testimonies, the contradictions no ornithologist could square, and he preserved them. Carefully. The way you'd bank a coal you weren't sure would ever catch again. Because of him, the record survived. One man's quiet stubbornness kept 70 years of silence from becoming permanent erasure. And Crawfordsville slept. The sky stayed empty. The people there probably believed they'd settled the matter for good. They hadn't. Because in the winter of 1957, something returned to those same skies. And this time, it didn't breathe. It didn't gasp. It didn't pulse with the heat of anything alive. What came down was cold, mechanical, a flat black shape that moved with the indifference of a machine, carrying passengers that didn't even occupy 3 dimensions. Winter of 1957. A young couple driving home through Crawfordsville, roads quiet, streetlights humming their usual amber. One of them looks up. 50 feet above the tree line, something is hanging in the air. A cigar-shaped object, luminous, enormous, pouring out an orange-red glow so intense it drowns every streetlight on the block. Not dims, drowns, like holding a match next to an open furnace. And the sound. Francis Ridge's Midwest UFO research files describe it as a grinding noise, a dull roar. Picture the metallic shriek you'd hear inside a steel mill if someone jammed the machinery and let it scream. Now put that sound in the sky, directly above your car, coming from something that has no business being there. The thing people saw in 1891 felt alive. It breathed. It radiated heat the way a living body does. This had none of that. This had the presence of a foundry dropped from low orbit. No biological whisper, no organic gasp. Just tonnage and heat. And that relentless industrial grinding pressing against your ribcage like a fist made of frequency. But the object itself? That's not the part that stays with you. The craft had portholes, circular windows, spaced along the hull, glowing from within. And through those windows, caught in that throbbing orange light, the couple could see figures moving. They weren't human. They weren't the gray almond-eyed things from abduction folklore either. Your brain genuinely has no file for what these witnesses described. 2-dimensional silhouettes, cut from black paper. Flat, as if someone had taken a pair of scissors and carved a person's shape from dark construction stock, and then set it in motion. The record simply states they looked like stick figures, the kind a child draws. And then there were the necks, too thin, too long, a proportion that exists nowhere in mammalian anatomy. That narrow, spindly stalk, connecting a flat ovoid head to flat, narrow shoulders, all of it backlit in pulsing orange. And when one of them turned, if you can call it turning, it didn't rotate the way a body in 3-dimensional space rotates. There was no smooth arc, no depth shifting into profile. It was more like a playing card flipping. A flat shape, abruptly repositioning. One angle, then another. No in-between. The motion had a stutter to it. A wrongness your eyes register before your brain can even name it. Imagine standing 50 feet below that. engine idling on a Crawfordsville winter road. Streetlights useless around you. That dull metallic roar filling every cavity in your skull. And through a round window, something folded out of a geometry your dimension doesn't use, pivoting on a neck no living spine could support. Oriented toward you. Or maybe past you. You can't tell. Because it has no depth. And somehow, that's worse than any face could ever be. The couple drove home, locked the door, hands probably still shaking. But here's the thing about a locked door. A locked door stops something that exists in 3 dimensions. What this couple wouldn't fully understand until later. What would only surface in fragments, like a photograph developing in the wrong chemicals, was that between that road and their front porch, time had come apart. 90 minutes, maybe 2 full hours. Simply absent. No memory. No continuity. As if something had reached into the evening with a pair of scissors, not unlike the ones that cut those silhouettes, and snipped that segment clean out of the record. They ran. Whatever composure that road had left them, whatever military discipline still held in his chest, it snapped the moment the light folded into nothing. The craft didn't retreat, didn't climb. The record simply states it dissolved. 1 frame, 100 feet of metal filling the Indiana sky. The next, absence. And when something that size stops existing before your eyes, your body doesn't wait for your brain. It just moves. They made it to the front door. It opened, closed, locked. Deadbolt turned. And for 1 breath, maybe 2, there was something that almost resembled safety. Walls, a ceiling, the hum of a refrigerator, the ordinary machinery of a life that still made sense. Then she looked up at the clock. He looked up at the clock, and whatever safety those walls had promised collapsed without a sound. The hands were wrong, not by a few minutes, not by some small drift you could chalk up to adrenaline. The clock had jumped forward by close to 2 hours, and between the road and this hallway, nothing. Not darkness, not sleep, not even the haze of shock. Just a void with no texture. As if someone had reached into their evening and lifted out a section so precisely, the cut didn't even leave marks. He turned to her. She turned to him. And what followed was not calm. This man had served in the United States Air Force, trained to observe, to catalog, to file anomalies into rational boxes. She watched that training fail in real time. "Where were we?" she said. He had no answer. "Where were we for 2 hours?" And he couldn't answer, because the question had no structure. There was no where, no during, only before and after, and the quiet fact that something in between had been taken from both of them without so much as a request. They argued. Of course they argued. What else do you do when the one thing you've always owned without question? Your time, your continuity, your unbroken thread of being present in your own life, turns out to have a seam in it. A seam you can't open. That no one will ever open for you. I won't tell you what happened in those missing hours. That would require me to know, and I don't. Nobody does. And I think that might be the sharpest edge of this whole story. A craft in the sky you can report. A figure in a window you can describe. But a hole in your own memory that just sits there. You reach for what should be there and find a door that won't budge. And somewhere in the quiet, you realize you weren't the one who closed it. Some questions don't close. This one never did. If you've stayed with me this deep, through the dark water and the strange light, and the things that refuse to be filed neatly away, thank you. I mean that. Drop a like if this one got under your skin. Hit subscribe. There are deeper waters ahead, and I'd rather not go in alone.